Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast with your host, Michael Sapersky, where we take you deep into the world of elite consultants.
Hey, it's Michael Sapersky, and today I'm very excited to have Jon DeWaal joining us. Jon, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Michael, for having me.
So, Jon, really excited for this. Let's just start off. For those that aren't familiar with your work, explain what you do.
Sure. So my practice is called Liminal Space, and I am a transition specialist, a life transition specialist, and it's really a blend of disciplines, counseling, coaching, career counseling, and spiritual direction, all rolled into one, believing that those disciplines can belong in one conversation versus multiple.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about that, because our audience here really is business owners, consultants, independent consultants, solo consultants, owners of small consulting firms, or people that do kind of coaching within the business realm. So just kind of share with us, how does what you do apply to, let's say, a typical business situation, or what kinds of work do you do with people that are in consulting or, such businesses?
Well, a lot of the people that I'm working with are going through various kinds of personal transition, and those personal transitions are also affecting them personally. So it may be, there's a significant increase in their business as far as revenue is concerned, and their growth is just has been a lot, and they can't keep up with it. Or it could be they have gone through something personally, and it's a new marriage, or it's a new relationship, or a new city, or it's some kind of loss, and that creates a myriad of questions and a myriad of problems and unwanted emotions, some very wanted, and ultimately decisions and choices that need to be made. And those are awaiting them to show up to, and they often don't know how to address all of that in one season of their life. It's full of ambiguity and uncertainty. And so my work with people is to say, let's slow down and pay attention, because there's something in this space that you're likely being invited to, both in the decisions and the opportunities and the problems. But you're not going to be able to know how to move forward with confidence and clarity if you don't slow down and learn how to wait. And waiting is something that most of us aren't very good at.
Definitely, yeah. And I can see how, I think everyone listening to this can see how these kinds of personal questions, or just any issue that's going on that you just described, even if it's not directly related to business, maybe it's an issue or something on your mind regarding your spouse or your kids or whatever it might, your purpose. All of these things can have a very, very direct connection to our business and to how we approach our business and our growth and decisions that we make. So that connection to me now is very clear, and I think it's a really important one. Before, we go deeper into this and kind of really look at how you've grown your business and how, the work that you're doing, we can maybe share some of that expertise with our listeners. Let's go back a bit. Like, how did you get to where you are today? Is this an area that you always had an interest in? Was it the result of an experience in the corporate world? Like, just share with us a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, you bet. So I could certainly narrate a lot of parts of my, childhood and story that have contributed to why I love doing what I do. But I think some of the more recent adult experiences really have shaped a significant direction. I used to be a contractor. When I moved out to Seattle, that certainly was not the dream, to become a contractor, a painting contractor. But it was graduate school, and I had just approaching graduation. I had school loans due. I had a baby on the way, a new mortgage, had all these things with financial pressure. So I thought, I'm going to start a business doing something I've already done before. And I remember that day when I bought my first ladder, and I was unpacking it in the garage, and I knew I could do this, but I was holding that ladder, and I said to myself, this is going to take a long time to get out of. And it began what felt like a drudgery, a burden. There was no joy in the work, even though I was really good at it. fast forward about 4 years of surviving the whole economy and the crisis of 2007 and 8, growing my business, getting lots of clients or customers, having a crew of guys. We were working on a house towards the end of the summer, and I was on the roof doing some work and painting, and I fell off, and I landed onto concrete. Wow. So almost like instantly, my life began to take a different direction, and I had at the time no idea how, but knew that it was, as did my wife and family. So I remember laying in the hospital room that first night with a really good friend, and just like in tears and in the pain of certainly of what I was going through physically, but also I would argue more so emotionally and psychologically, the pain of being in a story that I just did not feel was a good fit. Saying to him, I do not want to do this anymore. And really unpacking more of that question, well, what do you want to do? And I started exploring that with a good friend and mentor who helped me step into that, and some of the stories I really want to be a part of for my future. Stories that were about my impact and influence in the world versus like, what do I want my house to look like or my salary to look like? I really wanted to explore with him, like, what does it look like for me to leave a mark on a person? How do I do that? What does it look like for me to enter a person's life and use my gifts and strengths on their behalf? And really what that unpacked for me is this desire to be a force that provoked with really good questions and really good sense of presence with them, seeing them well, and a source of invitation, inviting them to a different story, a different narrative for their future, both personally and professionally. And then in all of that, be a force that brings about restoration, something where they've moved through something difficult and they feel a sense of a restored movement and possibility and a new story for their life. And those conversations really helped me dream about how to use that on behalf of others and to do that specifically during transition. So, that was not an easy journey. I would never wish it upon anyone to go through like the falling off the roof and the pain that was and the financial stress and all of the work to take an idea and birth it and make a business out of it and the years that it took to make that happen. Like, it was so hard, but I get this work now where I'm working with people in their businesses and I'm working with them in their individual lives, helping them figure out who they are and what they want. And I'm now, to go from a story from, this is going to take a long time to get out of, to I don't want to do this anymore, to now be in a story where I get to do this and I get to help in these ways and help people get unstuck and find movement and momentum in their story. It's just a joy. So it was really going through my own personal transition and listening for, where do I feel like my work and my calling really is in this world. And that certainly happened in the context of a transition.
Right. And Jon, in the work that you do with business owners, what are some of the most common, areas or challenges or questions that people are dealing with?
Well, I think one of the ones that comes to mind almost immediately, and I can recognize this in my own work as a business owner, is there's not enough time that they're spending working on the business. They're spending all of their time in the trenches doing the work for the business and haven't built boundaries and disciplines on how to focus on where am I leading this? Mm-hmm. As an example, I was working with a couple who owned a small contracting firm here in the Seattle area, and they grew over the course of 3 years from about 270,000 to over $1 million in revenue. And for a small mom and pop business, that's huge change for them. And so what it often looked like for them was, putting out fires. Being very reactive. And so part of our earlier conversations with them is identifying, like, who are you now as a business, and what does it mean to grow up and create space and time to lead this organization differently? And that's work that you can't just do 15 minutes here and there. There's dedicated time that needs to be created within the space of a week and a month and a year to really lead the organization versus simply just stay in it day after day. And that just requires different kinds of activities that for many we aren't used to as our businesses really start to grow up. Meeting.
Let's explore that a little more, because I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. They're so busy, delivering on client projects. They have all kinds of different kind of situations, whether it's personal or professional, kind of tugging at them, and they really don't feel like they have much time to dedicate to building their own business, even though deep down inside they know that's what they need to do. I mean, what do you feel, in your experience, is actually holding people back from dedicating more time to working on their business as opposed to just kind of working in it?
Well, it's a word that I think I could say is true for a lot of people, business or personal. Personally speaking, I think we're a culture that lacks discipline. It's a word that I think often has negative connotations to it, but or it's so confining that it creates ruts that turn into coffins. But I think disciplines help contain the best creativity and the best places for our imaginations to create. And so it's really working with people, especially business owners, to shape and craft some of those disciplines. And that sometimes just boils down to the hard work of what does it mean to practically own your schedule and the use of your time? And do you know where the value adding activities are as you distinguish yourself in the marketplace? And for this couple, it was helping them identify core language and a greater sense of identity. Often, on the front end, what we're trying to do is let's understand the beliefs that are driving the behaviors, the beliefs that are creating a lot of havoc in the business about who they believe they are, and what they should continue to do. And so we're working to first unpack some of that and what do they need to become more of in the way of how they believe they are or who they are as business owners, in the roles that they have to be successful. And so out of that, forming new habits, which it's hard labor, and not easy for individuals or couples to do who own businesses. And that's why they shouldn't be doing that work alone. It's the work of doing that in the context of a relationship that can hold accountability and remind them of what they committed to and celebrate milestones and success along the way and try to understand moments where they get tripped up and what it means to pick themselves up again.
What role do you feel commitment has in this? And when I ask that, I see a lot of consultants, a lot of people who are on the face of it. They tell you that they want to grow their business, but I've observed there's a very big difference between those who are truly committed and those who are interested. And those who are interested are those who will typically spend a lot of time planning things, thinking about things. They'll talk kind of a big game about how much they want to do something. But when it comes down to actually, implementing and taking action, they find reasons not to move forward. They create excuses, or just, don't actually put in the work that is required. And the ones that are committed will look at those as opportunities and say, there's work that needs to be done here. There's maybe some fear that I have or some hesitations, but I know it's what I need to do. And so then they just do what they need to do. I mean, in your experience, how does that commitment piece and kind of the committed versus interested play into all of this?
While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO.
Oh, I mean, it's huge. It's really the difference between I wish this was true for my life versus I want this and I'm going to do the work to make it happen. And for those that are in the realm of like, oh yeah, that'd be nice, and I wish this would change in my story or in my business or whatever it is that we're talking about, that usually for them, the pain hasn't grown to a point where they're actually willing to do the hard work of creating new disciplines tied to the commitments that they want for their life and their business. And so when that, for most, often pain can be a pretty significant motivator, or the fear of potential, doom on the horizon is also a motivator, could be enough to actually sit down on a regular basis to not only name what they want, but the commitments they're going to make and what really are the trade-offs that they have to consider fully as they say yes to this or no to that. And those trade-offs, I think, better understanding of if I go down this path, I'm choosing this and I'm saying no to that. That's huge for people. Mm-hmm. Huge understanding of what are the trade-offs that I'm willing to live with, because there really is no perfect story. There is no perfect career. There is no perfect business plan. And so in a world where all of that imperfection is going to show up, having as best you can an understanding of what can you see now on the front end of those commitments that hold the things you're going to have to say no to and let go of, and trading them off for the things that you really want for your business or your personal life.
How much opportunity do you feel there is for people to not wait until they're fully in pain, but rather to say, okay, I have a goal. I want to achieve something. I really am committed to creating that result or that outcome. And I'm not going to wait until I feel like the real pain and I'm, truly stuck, but I'm going to take action now. Like in your experience, what separates those people? Because there's clearly people out there who, and totally. my observation, these are actually the most successful people who don't wait until they're fully completely knocked down, and it's like to the point where it's so hard for them to get up. The ones, and I don't mean that people don't make mistakes, because clearly very successful people make huge mistakes and have lots of lessons. But I think that what I've observed is that the most successful people are those who are always taking action, and they're learning from those actions, and they're getting the feedback, and that allows them to optimize and to make improvements. But yet there's others who will say, I want this. But then when it comes down to them making a real decision or making a commitment or making an investment, they don't do that, and they create all kinds of reasons not to do what they just said that they actually want to do. So how can people look at that? How can people look at their current situation and make better decisions around what is actually best for them?
One of my favorite poets, his name is David White. He wrote a book called Crossing the Unknown Sea, and it's about this conversation of work and identity. And one of his favorite poems, Everything is Waiting for You. And there is this line in there that goes like this: alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. And I love that, as it invites this idea of intentionality. Mm-hmm. I wish more often than not, the person I was sitting across from who owns whatever business or is going through whatever career change was able to say, I'm sensing that in the next year or two, X, Y, and Z are about to happen, and I want to get ready for that change. And I really want to step into what does it mean for me to prepare personally and professionally and in my relationships, like really a holistic approach to what's coming down the road or what's up ahead. That's just not the common story. I would say that's maybe 1 out of every 30 clients is sitting across from me telling me that story. I so wish that was more common. And I think a lot of it, Michael, has everything to do with we view these seasons of transition or approaching change with a sense of, with that happening in my life, it means there's something wrong, versus no, what's happening is rather natural to being a human, to being a business owner. It is going to go through change. It is going to be disrupted by something going on in the marketplace or employees within your company or within your life personally. Change is going to happen. It doesn't mean that anything has happened that's you've done wrong or that we need to assign blame. It's part of being human. And if we could pull some of the stigma away from transition and say, all right, so you're in this space of transition. It's hard. It's not easy. There's lots of things to figure out. Let's slow down and pay attention and stay alert. And if that was more of a discipline, if that work became more of there's an opportunity here to pay attention, to listen to how you're supposed to change personally and professionally, who knows what could come out of that? It could produce an even better path for the business or the couple or whatever the transition might be. And I just think that that's work that if we could shift the culture around these moments in life, not as something to be ashamed of or avoided, but something to embrace. And that's not turning lemons into lemonade. That's simply saying, yes, you're human, you're going through something, or you're seeing something approaching that is going to hold challenge. What is the opportunity in that challenge? What's the treasure? And if you don't slow down and learn what it means to listen and discern, you're going to bypass all that stuff that could be really good for your future.
Yeah, I think it's such an important message for people to hear, and I truly hope that all of you listening to this will consider how this applies to your situation in a very honest and transparent way for yourselves, so that it may provide even greater value for you. So let's switch now a little bit and kind of transition, Jon, into speaking about how you build your business. Talk to us a little bit about how you go about getting clients right now.
Well, over the 8 years that I've been doing this, I have been just regularly meeting with as many people as I can. I work in an area in the work that I do that requires me to have conversations with other business owners, therapists, pastors, community leaders, and I am regularly having time in my schedule where I set aside conversations and networking, generally speaking. But I'm also building and doing ancillary stuff. So, teaching and working at an academic school here in the area. I have a networking group that I organized in an organization called BNI. Business Networking International. We meet every week and we're constantly talking about what kind of clients we're looking for and what it would mean to pass us a good referral. I host that meeting at my office. I'm a part of professional organizations, the Chamber of Commerce here in the town that I'm working in. So it's a discipline. It is a discipline to continue to build awareness around what it is that I'm doing and spreading the word, and helping equip people with the language they need to not only refer me clients, but describe what it is that I do. Because I think what I do is rather unique. I think that's probably true of most businesses, but, it's one thing to describe a business as, I'm a plumber or a painter versus I'm someone who works with people who are moving through life transitions. So that's regular efforts and disciplines around doing that. And it's not been easy. I mean, it's a slog at times.
At what point did it kind of get to a level where you just felt like, wow, things are really coming together nicely? Like so you're 8 years in now. How long did it take for you to feel like things were moving at a pace that you felt very satisfied with?
Yeah. So I would say it's about 4 years in, 4 years in to the point where I could begin to say, no longer am I going to judge whether or not I'm going to work with someone based on whether or not they have money that's green or a pulse. I'm going to start listening to more so like maybe there's something about this client that I really, really want to work with, and I can create space in my schedule to make that happen, and then developing a waiting list, which is really, really the story now. And it's a lovely problem to be figuring out how to solve, but it did take a good 4 years to get to that point. And many moments where there's disappointments and setbacks, and enough evidence to say, keep going, keep doing this work, and enough people around me who could read the data as well and remind me what's happening, and continue to say, keep going, keep building, this is good, and that was hard, keep going, and that encouragement. So, but that, yeah, it's a long battle.
So Jon,
it's a long road.
Looking back, if you now had the benefit of hindsight, is there something that you could do differently? So if you're, speaking to yourself, let's just say 8 years ago, knowing what you know now, is there something that you would tell yourself that you could do that would help you to get more clients and to grow your business faster, or not? Yeah,
for sure. There's one thing that I think continues to invite me and terrify me, and that is the discipline and the skill of writing, taking what it is that I feel led to create and write and speak on and put it out there for the world, and do that through podcasts, blogs, book, that kind of thing. I wish that I would have started doing more of that earlier instead of the discipline that I'm trying to apply more and more frequently now. That holds so much learning for me personally and professionally, and then that act of taking content and things that I'm creating and putting it out there, such a valuable thing for me to be doing, and where I see the most resistance in my spirit personally. The second thing, I think, and I think it's part of, as far as maybe what I would call a habit of success, friendship. I have this group of guys that I meet with regularly once a week, and it's where we share a good brew, but it's also where we share life, and where there's an encouraging word spoken, or a challenging word spoken, or ideas that are offered. And I think that's really hard to do when you're in your 30s and you're building a business, and you've got kids and, marriage and all those things, all those different tensions. And it's easier to put some of those things off to the side. And I certainly have done a lot of that over the years, and more so now as my kids are a bit older, but, making that a regular discipline every week, like not trading that off, because, I think going through this life with people that got your back and don't require anything of you and want the best for you, help keep you on a good path, help you see what you can't see. And I think that's ultimately what relationships, kind, loving, caring, fun relationships help us stay on a good path, personally and professionally. And that's been huge for me over the years.
And that may come in the form of friends, like what you're mentioning right now, may come in the form of a coach, a mentor, a mastermind, a group. But essentially what I'm trying to say is, the conversations has been key for you and will continue to be key, right? Really, if there's two keywords that stand out for me from everything you're saying, it's discipline and conversations. And I think those two could really go together, where it's like having the discipline to ensure that you're having enough conversations, having the discipline to write more, to create more content, to put yourself out there, even though it may not be the thing that you enjoy the most, and there might be some hesitation and fear around it, but you've recognized that there's a real benefit for you and for the business to do that. And so you're making it a priority. You've created the discipline to work on that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think, these are areas, these are lessons that just guys like everyone listening to this, I think, can benefit from as well, right? I mean, if you think about how you grow and build a consulting business, it comes down to really like one thing that cannot be removed, and that is having conversations. As consultants, it's extremely rare for a buyer to hire you, to engage you, to pay you without having a conversation with you. And yet so often, we see or hear about people who want to build a business, yet are doing almost everything they possibly can to not go out there and have conversations, right? Spending time like building the website or playing with your logo colors or working on a brochure, right? Or, like just talking with people who are easy to talk with, but may not be the right ideal clients. But if we really take what, we're hearing from Jon today and from all of, the other guests, successful consultants that we've had on the podcast, I mean, these themes continue to come up, and it's like the discipline, the commitment to have conversations, to do what you need to do, and the plan of an approach to having those conversations may be a little bit different. So it's important that you have the right plan depending on, what your situation is, your market, so on and so forth. But having the conversations and doing that consistently is certainly a key to success. Jon, I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing, a bit of your story here with us today. What's the best way for people to learn more about your work and connect with you?
Well, we have a website. It's inaliminalspace.org. So liminal, LIMINALSPACE.org.
Awesome. Check it out, everyone. Jon, again, thanks so much for coming on.
So good to be here. Thank you, Michael.
Are you ready to take your consulting business to the next level? Learn more about the Accelerator Coaching Program at consultingsuccess.com.